Welcome to the Lunken story. Lunken Airport's more than just another airport. Its roots go back to early aviation years. It evolved from a grass landing strip to a significant commercial airport. Later, it reverted to a general aviation model. The original airport site attracted settlers and established Cincinnati's original community there in 1788. They called it Columbia. They were forced to relocate to Lisanaville, the present Cincinnati, because of the frequent flooding. A cemetery is located off of Wilmer Avenue, just north of the terminal building on the left side of the road. This is a view of the cemetery located at the top of a small hill. Many pioneers were buried there. Lunken Airport started life as a small landing field called Turkey Bottoms. It got its name from the large number of wild turkeys that roamed the area. A barnstorming pilot by the name of Dixie Davis started a flying business at the corner of Beachmont Avenue and Wilmer Road, the present location of the Lunken playfield. Davis died in an Indiana plane crash in 1932. This small airfield caught the attention of the Grizzard Company, partially owned by Eshelby Lunken, which owned Grizzard Field in Blue Ash, Ohio. Mr. Lunken viewed this airfield as having more growth potential and was only 4 miles from downtown Cincinnati. In December 1925, the Grizzard Company was dissolved and the Lunken family provided financial backing to purchase 204 additional acres of land owned by the Cincinnati Polo Club. This airfield then became known as Lunken Airport. As a part of the development, the Army Air Corps 359th Reserve Squadron was relocated from what was the predecessor to Blue Ash Airport to Lunken. By the way, the Blue Ash Airport was closed to make way for a park. This is often the fate of many small airports today. It existed for almost 90 years. The Army brought with them hangars that were originally located at McCook Field, Dayton, Ohio. McCook was the major flying field for the military during the early years of aviation. These hangars are still standing at the south end of the airport. The 359th used DH-4s. DH-4s were widely used during World War I and were built under license from the de Havilland Aircraft Company of Britain. The only military plane designed and manufactured in the U.S. during World War I was the Jenny. The largest producer was the Dayton Wright Company of Dayton, Ohio. Dixie Davis used some of these planes. Airline operations began in 1925. In 1928, the city of Cincinnati passed a bond issue allowing purchase of an additional 870 acres and took assignment of a perpetual lease of the airport from the Lunken family. The airfield was now operated by the city of Cincinnati. Long-term plans envisioned Lunken as the city's main airport. Brick hangars were started in 1929 in Art Deco style. On December 17, 1925, exactly 22 years after the historic flight of the Wright brothers, the Embry-Riddle Company was founded at Lunken Airport. The following spring, the company opened the Embry-Riddle School of Aviation. They went on to become the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. Today, that institution is one of the most prestigious aviation universities in the world. Aeronca was touted to be one of the first successful general aviation aircraft produced in the United States. The first plane produced was the C-2 flying bathtub. Several other models followed. In World War II, they produced the Defender, a tandem trainer that was used for training pilots. Several observation and liaison designs were also produced during and after the war. The prominent local family, the Tafts, were heavily involved with the company. Aeronca, Aeronautical Corporation of America aircraft were manufactured at Lunken until after the 1937 flood. They then moved to Middletown, Ohio, where they continued to operate manufacturing components for the aerospace industry. Today, it operates as a division of Magellan Aerospace Industries. The former Aeronca factory still exists. It was used by P&G for hangar space until recent years. It is located on Romer Avenue close to the playfield. This is how the factory appears today. The appearance has changed quite a bit over the years. After the war, Aeronca resumed production of civilian aircraft. One, the 7AC, better known as the Champ, sold nearly 8,000 units between 1945 and 1951. In its history as a general aviation and military aviation manufacturer, Aeronca produced over 17,000 planes. Many are still flying today. Flamingo produced one of the first metal airplanes. Earlier planes were largely wood and fabric. 21 were built. Unfortunately, Flamingo became a victim of the Depression. The Flamingo helped Embry-Riddle and other aerial companies evolve into passenger-carrying airlines. The last one is located in Venezuela. It was flown by Jimmy Angel, who discovered the Angel Falls in that country. Powell Crosley, the wealthy inventor and manufacturer, and Tass were heavily involved with the company. This is a picture of the Angel Falls located in Venezuela. Ford Trimotor became the passenger airplane of choice around the same time. It was all metal, had a greater passenger capacity, and had 3 engines. Some of these are still flying today. The EAA, Experimental Aircraft Association, is a Ford touring the country giving rides. You may see it at Lunken on occasion. Ford had a crew of 2 and carried 10 passengers at a cruise speed of 90 miles an hour. It had a range of 550 miles and 199 were built. Started in 1929, 3 brick hangars were built on the south side of the field in Art Deco style. The hangars are still standing today. However, Hangar 3 is no longer occupied because it has been deemed too close to the runway approach for Runway 7. It's only stood there for over 80 years without problems. Here is a picture of the Art Deco work on Hangar 1. It's a series of inverted airplanes. In 1930, the airport was dedicated. Formal dedication of Lunken Airport took place as the largest municipal airport in the United States, a status earned due to the size of its concrete runways. A part of the new facility was the American Airways Sky Chef restaurant, which today is operated as a Sky Galley restaurant. Many visiting dignitaries were present, like Jimmy Doolittle and actress Jean Harlow. Lunken was Cincinnati's main airport during this period. American Airways, later called American Airlines, was the exclusive provider until 1941, when Delta and TWA arrived to challenge them. Few airports had control towers in the early days. It wasn't until the mid-1930s that construction on one at Lunken was started. The 1937 flood marked the beginning of the demise of the airport as an airline facility. The picture of the tower says it all. Here are some interesting features of the terminal building. The dark-colored block on the face of the building showing the high water mark of the flood is still present. A millstone was found during the excavation for the airport, and it is located to the left of the entrance to the terminal building. Paintings are in the terminal lobby. The paintings at the Lunken Terminal were painted in 1937 by William Harry Goddard and were designed to complement the ornate plasterwork which was destroyed by the flood in 1937 during construction. The paintings were already half completed when the flood of 1937 struck. The paintings were moved to the Union Terminal for completion. When the terminal opened, they were then returned to Lunken. The painting on the left depicts man bent by the burden of gravity. The one on the right depicts man released to fly on the wings of aviation. The plane hanging in the Lunken Terminal lobby is the more powerful Aeronca C-3. It was introduced in 1931 and it featured room for a passenger seated next to the pilot. It was also powered by a new 36 horsepower Aeronca E113 engine. The Sky Galley restaurant has been around since 1930 when the terminal was dedicated. In the early years, it was known as the American Airways Sky Chef restaurant. It houses a lot of memorabilia from yesteryears. While the Cincinnati political fathers debated where to relocate the municipal airport, Northern Kentucky stepped forth proposing that an Army training airfield located in Boone County, Kentucky be selected. The proposal was accepted. The move was accomplished in 1947. After the move of the airlines to Greater Cincinnati Airport, flight training continued to be a major contributor to Lunken's prominence from the late 1940s into the 1960s. This was due in large part to the GI Bill, which paid for vocational training for returning veterans. Sporty's Pilot Shop was founded in 1961 by Hal Shevers and was originally located in the Lunken Airport Terminal. Like many entrepreneurial adventures, Sporty's began small. When Hal was flight instructing, he began to sell pilot supplies to his students. All operations were moved to Sporty's current Claremont County Sporty's Airport location in 1990. From humble beginnings, Sporty's has become the world's premier pilot shop and developer of aviation education programs. They also provide flight instruction and aircraft rental. This is a photo of the space that originally housed Sporty's in the terminal building. Flight Safety is the world's leading aviation training company. The year was 1940. Al Elshi, founder of Flight Safety, although only 23 years old at this time, was working as a chief pilot for Queen City Flying Service located at Lunken. One of Queen City's contracts was an aerobatic standardization course for inspectors with the Civil Aeronautics Administration, the former of today's Federal Aviation Administration. Lunken is about 500 feet above sea level. That is how aviators describe the elevation of the field. We use this information when landing at the airport. Currently, there are 3 runways. There used to be 4. The 4th runway was closed and turned into a taxiway in the 1960s. Why do we have multiple runways? One reason is for the wind. If the wind is not blowing down a runway, we call it a crosswind. If the wind direction relative to the runway is too extreme, planes can't land. To solve the problem, multiple runways are built. Another reason for multiple runways is for multiple planes to land and take off at the same time. Runways have numbers on them. The numbers correlate with the compass direction they are oriented to. For example, a runway oriented north-south would have 36 painted on the end facing north, and on the other end would have 18 because it is facing the south. All these things are useful for pilots, especially when flying in poor weather. Notice the dark earth to the left of the main runway. That's the path of the river before it was moved to accommodate the new runway in the 1960s. Lunken has an instrument landing system. This is known as an ILS. It was installed in 1964. The system sends out 2 signals to the airplane. The one is called the localizer, and it tells the pilot the path to follow to the runway. The other signal, called the glide slope, tells the pilot how to descend to land. There are 2 radio signals on the ILS. The first, called the outer marker, tells the pilot when they are at the start of the approach. At that time, they usually extend the landing gear. The second is called the middle marker, when they are getting close to the airport. The ILS is a very precision system. Airplanes can land at Lunken when the cloud bases are around 200 feet and the visibility is as low as a half a mile. To put this into perspective, at minimums, the airplane is about at the midpoint over the golf course. Very precision. Some ILS systems can provide even lower approaches. However, they require additional instruments both on the ground and in a plane. With these systems, you can land with 0 cloud base and 0 visibility. Now let's look at what an ILS approach looks like from the cockpit. Here is a list of major operations that are based at Lunken Airport today. Landmark began operations at Lunken in 2011 after purchasing several other operations who had existed there for many years. Landmark Aviation is an FBO that's a fixed-base operator, and they provide aviation-related services. Below is a list of the types of services that they provide. In 2006, Procter & Gamble completed a new $14 million hangar to meet its global aviation needs. It will generate $100,000 in annual fees for the airport. It accommodates 5 jets and 50 workers. As of 2006, 53% of Procter & Gamble's $72 billion business comes from outside of North America. 26% is coming from developing markets such as China, Africa, and India. Some of its jets have a range of about 9,000 miles and can fly nonstop from Lunken to Beijing, China. Several other corporate operations are present at Lunken. However, they like to keep a low profile. They include companies such as Kroger, American Financial, and ChemEd. Others are present, but those are the ones that are listed on the airport directory. Executive Jet Management started as American Air Services at Lunken in 1977. They have a total of 322 employees based there. Now we're going to look at a short video which explains how Executive Jet operates and the kind of services that they provide.
What does it take to be the best? To soar above and beyond expectations? Hard work, drive, determination, an unbridled passion for excellence. At Executive Jet Management, we raise the bar with every interaction, from unparalleled jet charter service to large-scale aircraft management. It's what sends EJM soaring high above other jet charter and aircraft management providers.
We have a company that has a safety culture that allows us to go beyond just what the minimum requirements are. The FAA regulations are the minimum requirement that you have to meet. We're allowed to go above and beyond to make sure that the aircraft are always safe.
Whether it's a retail charter client or an aircraft owner, they have the confidence that they've got EJM behind them. EJM has done all the safety checks, we've done all the compliance checks, we've done everything to minimize any hassle they might experience in their flight. They get on board the plane worry-free, fly the flight worry-free, and then land and go about their business. We really try to minimize that hassle factor for them and make sure everything is done as best as we absolutely can.
I've been in this business for over 30 years, one way or another, and I will say that the team that we have put together here are truly the best in the business. They are very driven to providing high-quality customer service, and that's rare to find that type of synergy that comes together like we have here.
You come to this company with a certain set of core skills and experiences, and then you expand on that. I mean, we learn every single day, and we're constantly looking for ways to improve how we provide excellent customer service. We're growing every day, we're learning from experience, and we're applying that to our customers.
If it's someone's birthday, we have a birthday cake on board. If there's children on board, we want to make sure that they have all the food that they need to be able to complete a long flight. We really want to make sure that it's the best experience that they can possibly have.
Safety is paramount in everything we do. Every decision we make, I think, is focused on safety. And of course, the experience, the comfort and reliability of the crew and be able to count on them, whether it's a normal situation every day, that trip you make all the time, or whether it's a trip you've never made forward to some remote part of the world.
I think that our experience is bar none superior in the industry. We've really spearheaded a lot of initiatives that have made corporate flying what it is today. Regardless of the situation, we understand what it takes to make a customer happy. And I think they're always going to get that with us.
We work every day to be the best and to always exceed your expectations. Our deep-rooted culture of continuous improvement in safety, operations, and customer service is what makes this possible. That's because at Executive Jet Management, we understand that how you do things.
Ultimate Air Shuttle commenced operations in July 2009 and now serves New York, Chicago, and Charlotte. Now we're going to show you a short video which explains just how Ultimate Air Shuttle works.
9 News anchor Brendan Keefe takes us aboard. Brendan?
Clyde and Carol, with this new jet service, flying to the New York metro area is quicker than driving to Columbus. And by that measure, Chicago is now closer than Dayton, because the long delays and all those other things you hate about modern air travel have been eliminated. This is what the jet age looks like today. Passengers grounded in long security lines, waiting for invasive body scans or aggressive pat-downs. But not Tony Bonomini. The Northern Kentucky businessman simply walks right onto the plane. No, it's not his private jet. It's a public charter, and anyone can buy a seat for less than a last-minute ticket on Delta.
Leave your home, get to the airport, and walk right on the plane. What more could you ask for?
You could arrive 15 minutes before departure, get on the aircraft, and you're on your way.
Ultimate Jet Shuttle flies two 30-seat Dornier jets out of Lunken Airport, offering round-trip flights to Chicago and New York every weekday but Wednesday. The Chicago flight lands before it even takes off. Because of the time change, the 7:30 flight out of Lunken arrives at Midway by 7:25.
You can step right on without any delay, no pat-down, no security, no lines.
Deanna Castellini flies to New York for You Give, the nonprofit she started with Chris Collinsworth.
Over 100 flights were canceled at CVG. We were able to board inside the hangar, pull out, fly in with no delay whatsoever.
Ultimate Jet Shuttle offered us a seat on its New York flight to see how it works. The 6:30 a.m. flight lands at 8 o'clock in Morristown, New Jersey. That's around 45 minutes from Manhattan by van. But a taxi from JFK often takes just as long.
It's all about time management. A few hours ago, it's hard to believe I was sitting in my house in Cincinnati. And now I'm in Times Square in the heart of New York. And it's still morning time.
Tony Bonomini is able to meet his business contacts on Wall Street, grab a quick lunch in Midtown, and still be back home in the tri-state in time for dinner.
Early in the morning to carry on business and still back in time to be with your family in the greater Cincinnati area by 7:30 in the evening.
This kind of luxury does come at a cost. $645 round trip to New York, $495 to Chicago. But that includes free parking, in-flight meals, and even free beer and wine. Also, there's absolutely no charge or limit on luggage.
Actually, I believe we are less expensive than a first-class ticket.
Or a last-minute ticket. A 5-day advance purchase for a coach seat on the comparable Comair flight from CVG to LaGuardia was $921. Baggage not included. To catch the 7:30 Comair flight, you'd have to leave home at the same time, 6 a.m. because of parking and security. If it's on time, the regional jet arrives at 9:36 in the morning. We were already in the city by then.
It's as if Lunken Airport is a stop on the New York City subway system. You can be in Midtown Manhattan in a matter of hours.
Even on a Friday, when a lot of business travelers are sitting on the tarmac for up to 2-3 hours, we are leaving at 5:15 on time.
Back in suburban New Jersey, everyone boards after only showing a photo ID.
Please be seated for departure.
And just like that, we're off. Chasing the setting sun. A little after 7, we're back at Lunken Airport. The passengers walk off, grab their bags, and everyone is in their cars just 30 yards away by 7:15. And the 5:28 Delta flight from LaGuardia is still up in the air. And you don't have to stay for just one day. Families and leisure travelers are starting to use the business shuttle for multi-day trips, avoiding delays and long lines on vacation. But what about safety if there's no security checkpoint? Ultimate Jet Shuttle does file every passenger's name with the TSA, which then checks the manifest against the no-fly list. It's all approved by the TSA and within the rules for a public charter on a small jet with 30 seats or less. Guys?
Saving a lot of that valuable asset of time.
Time, absolutely.
Really.
Bill Schmidt founded Signature Engines in 1998. Signature Engines is an FAA certified licensed repair station and has overhauled engines for customers around the world, from corporate clients in Brazil and Australia to private pilots in Germany and Russia. The Cincinnati Aviation Heritage Society is organized exclusively for charitable, scientific, and educational purposes, more specifically to collect, restore, and display aviation artifacts relating to Ohio and the Cincinnati tri-state, and in particular, all aviation in general. There's a book on the history of Lunken, and it can be purchased at the museum, online, or at some local bookstores. The proof of concept plane, the Solar Impulse, landed at Lunken on its historic flight from coast to coast. The Solar Impulse is an electrically powered airplane powered by solar arrays and batteries. It was built at a cost of $140 million and took 10 years to complete. This is a first and represents Lunken's ongoing contributions to aviation. By the way, the wingspan of the Solar Impulse is as great as that of a Boeing 747 airliner. In summary, Lunken was a front-runner in aviation in many respects. A lot of happenings occurred at this airport. Today, it's often called a blue-collar airport because it serves the workaday needs of general aviation. Over 200 aircraft reside at Lunken Airport. Much like the city of Cincinnati, it went through a major growth period and eventually settled in to become a mature contributor to the community. We would like to thank the following organizations who have assisted us in preparing this presentation.